Each and every one tuned in this evening, we greet you in the name of Yahushua Mashiach. This evening, my topic is entitled Mystery Babylon. Mystery Babylon. And as I speak to you about Mystery Babylon, I will be speaking specifically about the Queen of Heaven. The scripture reading is taken from Jeremiah 44, verse 17 to 19, and verse 25. It says here, "But we will certainly do whatsoever thing goeth forth out of our own mouth, to burn incense unto the Queen of the heaven, and to pour out drink offering unto her, as we have done, we and our fathers, and our kings, and our princes, in the cities of Judah, and in the streets of Jerusalem. For then had we plenty of food, plenty of victuals, and were well, and saw no evil." So what this tells me here in a nutshell is that you can see that the teachings, the doctrines, the religion of our fathers and mothers and siblings does not say that you are in the right religion. It does not say that you're in the right place with the Most High. The same mistake that ancient Yashar made, in that they held fast to the philosophies of their forefathers who had backslidden and were now worshiping the Queen of Heaven. Scripture says here, he said, "But since we left off to burn incense to the Queen of Heaven and to pour out drink offering unto her, we have wanted all things and have been consumed by the sword and the famine. And when we burn incense to the Queen of Heaven and poured out drink offering unto her, did we make her cakes to worship her, and poured out drink offering unto her without our men." Without our men. Verse 25. "Thus said Yahweh of hosts, the sovereign one of Yashar, you and your wives have both spoken with your mouths, and fulfill your hand, saying, we will surely perform our vow that we have vowed, to burn incense to the Queen of the Shamayam, and to pour out drink offering unto her. Yea, you will surely accomplish your vow, and surely perform your vow." 1 Kings chapter 2, 19 to 25. As we continue to lay the foundation. Is that okay? So it says here, that Bathsheba therefore went unto King Solomon. We don't use Solomon because Solomon comes, it's three different words that they use to bring about a pagan name. Sol in the worship of Sol Invictus, the Roman god. Then you had Om as in Shanti, and then you have On, which is where the city of Un, where Joseph ended up in Egypt, right, where they worship the sun god. So the scribes, modern day scribes today, what they did was take names, combine names to give to a Greek name or a pagan name of Shalamah the king, to speak unto him for Adoniah. And the king rose up to meet her and bowed himself unto her, and sat down on his throne, and caused a seat to be set for the king's mother. And she sat on his right hand. I want you to take note of that. So the queen was ushered in, and she sat on the throne. You see? And the scripture said she sat on the right hand of the king. Then she said, "I desire one small petition of thee. I pray thee, say me not nay." And the king said unto her, "Ask on my mother, for I will not say thee nay." And she said, "Let Abishag the Shunammite be given to Adonijah, the brother to wife." And King Shalamah said unto his mother, "Why doest thou ask Abishak, the Shunammite, for Adonijah. Ask him the kingdom also, for he is my elder brother, even for him and for Abiathar the priest, and for Joab the son of Uriah. Verse 23. Then King Shalomo answered unto Yahuwah, he swear unto Yah, saying, Yah, do so to me, and more also, if Adonijah had not spoken this word against his own life. Now therefore, as Yahuwah liveth, which had established me, and set me on the throne of David my father, and who had made me a house, as he had promised, Adonijah shall be put to death this day. And King Shalomo sent by the hand of Benaiah, the son of Jehoiada, and he fell upon him that he died. So, my brothers and sisters, here we are. We see in this discourse that Bathsheba went before the king, King Shalomo. But what we fail to understand is that Adonijah, he was the fourth son of King David, the fourth son. But before he died, go back to 1 Kings, please. 1 Kings 2. Let me show them something from 1 to 4. Before Dawood, which is David, before he died, he called Shalomo, and he spoke to Shalomo, indicating to Shalomo the philosophy, the doctrine, and the belief of ancient Yashar. He said, now the days of Dawood drew nigh, that he should die, and he charged Shalomo, his son, saying, I go the way of all the earth, but be thou strong therefore, and show thyself a man, and keep the charge. The word keep in Hebrew talks about to guard. It's to guard the charge of Yahuwah, to walk in his ways, to keep his statutes and his commandments and his judgment and his testimony, as it is written in the law of Moses, that thou mayest prosper in all that thou doest, and wheresoever thou turnest thyself. He went on to say that the word, that Yahuwah may continue his word which he had spoken concerning me, saying, if thy children take heed to their way, to walk before me in truth, with all their heart and with all their soul, there shall not fail thee a man of the throne of Yashar. And this had been the promise pertaining to the Davidic kingdom, as to who the true Messiah will be, that he will come, he will keep the Father's commandment, and not only that, but the children, his children, must also do likewise. And you will see where I'm coming from. You will see where I'm coming from. So on this note, you saw that the scripture says that Adonijah, he was the fourth son. His mother was Kagat. Kagat, from where you got the word Haggai. The word Haggai or Kagat is in Hebrew. You have Kag for short, which talks about festival or festivity. So all in all, what you saw here is that his mother had told him, Adonijah, to go and speak to the queen, to see if the queen will allow Shalomo to give Abishag to him as wife. But why did Shalomo see this as usurping the authority of the kingdom? He saw it even fitting to kill this man. He said, put him to death. Why? Because he was not only asking for Abishag, who was a nurse, who was David's nurse, but she was also his concubine. So if he have to marry her as wife, then what he was doing here was usurping authority So he wanted the king. He wanted the role of kingship. He wanted the throne. And Shalomar understood this. So he told his mother, he said to her, he said, well, why don't he not ask for the kingdom also? And why not the priesthood? If he could ask for Abishag, let him ask for the kingdom and also the priesthood. And by virtue of that, he passed a death sentence upon him. But what I want you to see, my brothers and sisters, is that based on the fact that the scripture says that the queen always sit in the presence of the king and always at the right hand. This is where the Roman Catholicism came about with the philosophy and the concept of the worship of the Holy Mary, Mother of God. And if you are talking about Mother of God, then you are saying that she is the queen of the Shammai. She is the queen of the heaven. And it is based on this, scripture tells us that we must be very, very wise, because Adoniah, he died simply because, like we would say today, he spoke out of timing. But what he did is that he spoke error. Look at the word for error. Greek 4106. It says plane. It talks about speaking fraudulence or going astray from orthodoxy, piety, deceit, deceived, delusion, or error. And that is what Adoniah was doing. When he came under the pretense of asking for Abishag, the motive of asking was to deceive Shalomar, because this man did not cast the lot in favor of Shalomar as king. Abiathar, also as the priest, he supported Adoniah for the priesthood and for the kingdom. But scripture had it to play that David chose Shalomar. He chose Shalomar. So there was a rift in the kingdom. And because of that, scripture tells us that to speak error is to speak amiss. It is to speak amiss. Allow me to show you something quickly. According to the Strong Concordance, Hebrews 76:86, the word sharp, it means to mislead, figuratively. It talks about a mistake, to transgress morally, to transgress, to show through the idea of intoxication, to go astray, to deceive, to err. So you are seeing the understanding here, getting the gist. So when we look at that, we see that the very name talks about like the father of error. According to Job 19:4, Job is saying, "Be it indeed that I have erred," he said, "and my error remaineth with myself." If we examine another portion of scripture, Ecclesiastes 5:6, so I'm showing you the importance of when people speak folly or they speak loosely. He says, "Suffer not thy mouth to cause thy flesh to sin. Neither say thou before the Malak that it was an error." Because many of us, we speak foolishly, only to have to apologize to say it was an error. And yet that's why Yahweh said that we must guard our tongue, because what is in the heart and what is in the mind comes out. Because that was the discourse with Adoniah. His intent was evil. He said, "Wherefore should Yahuwah be angry at thy voice and destroy the work of thy hands?" Isaiah 32:6. Right? So we're just looking at some of the scriptures as it says here. It said, "For a the vile person will speak valiantly, and his heart will work iniquity, to practice hypocrisy, and to utter error against the Most High. This here was seen as in the case in Jeremiah's time. In the time of Jeremiah, Jeremiah was crying out to the people to stop worshiping the Queen of Heaven, to stop worshiping the host of the heavens. But the scripture says, the more they worshiped her, they found that they were going well. They were prospering. They were having food and they were having drink and everything was going nice. The enemy can give you everything you need, and you can believe it is the Most High who is blessing you. And what is ironic, he said, the moment we stop make cakes unto the Queen of Heaven, everything went sour. Everything went bad. Huh? There was famine upon the land and all manner. So what did they do? They went right back to worshiping the Queen of the Shamayam. Went right back. And what we have seen, in conjunction with what I'm showing here, we have seen that when we look back into scripture, Yahuwah had forbidden ancient Yahshua. He said, do not worship the host of the heavens. Don't worship them. Because we know that there are three categories of the Shamayam. You have the first heaven, which we see there where the birds say the sky. Then there's the second heaven, where the malaks, the angels, and these things dwell. And then there's the third heaven, where Yahuwah dwell. And he said to us that we must not worship the host of the heavens. In ancient times, King Shalomar worshipped the pagan gods of Milcom and the Amorites by the name of Astoret. Astoret was also called Astarte and Ishtar and Venus, because there are many faces of paganism, but it's the same devil. And this devil was also worshipped as Serapis Christus, or Serapis Christus. Many people will try to refute the fact that before Christianity, the people were worshippers of Serapis Christus. So when they came and they talk about Christ, J-U-S-U-S, Christ, it was easy for the people to switch from Serapis Christus to embrace J-U-S-U-S. So today, this same worship of the Queen of Heaven, known by all these different names, she today is worshipped in partly every religion, if not all at all. She is worshipped today. She is known among the Muslims as Lady Fatima or Fatima. She is known to the Roman Catholic Church as Our Lady or the Lady. She is also known to the Catholics as Mary. But we fail to make the connection that in ancient time, the same Astoret, Astarte, Ishtar, all of them had their origin in Isis, in the worship of Isis and Horus, because Isis is also known as the Queen of Heaven. The Queen of Heaven in ancient time was known as Isis. Watch out this here, enlargement. They said, notice the similarities between the Mary of Christendom and ancient Babylon, Semiramis. You understand me? Semiramis, which was known as Semiramis Christus, the goddess who wore a crown and was called the Queen of the Shamayam. This same Queen of the Shamayam is also referred to as the Madonna. And that's why when they tell you that even in the Latin, even in Rome, the Roman Catholic Church in Latin, you can go in Rome and you would see the black Madonna. And they put it black because it came out from Egypt. Anything black, we believe that that is our ancestral root and must be worshipped. But if we are saying that there is a Queen of Heaven, then how did the Queen come about? In the ancient times, the ancient faith of the Hebrew, Yahuwah as King, as Master of the universe, there is no connection to anything of a female deity when coming to Yah. There is no mention of any. So how come today in world religion that we have a female deity to correlate with a male deity? It says here in the Abydos of Seti 1, Isis herself declares, I am the great virgin. In the late period 712 to 332 BC in particular, she was called the goddess, and the goddess here, she was referred to as the virgin, especially Hathor, Isis, and Nefertiti. Okay? The Egyptian goddess who was equally the great virgin. She was called the great virgin, and she was called what? The mother of Gedi. Was the object of the very same praise bestowed upon her successor, the Virgin Mary. So Isis was the sacred embodiment of motherhood, yet was known as the Great Virgin, an apparent contradiction that will be familiar to Christians. So it goes on and on, it goes on and on. Right? You can read it, you can research it yourself, people. Right? So, if this tells me that this pagan goddess, who was worshipped in time past as Isis and Semiramis, is worshipped today as the mother and child. The mother and child. And in Roman Catholicism, they use Psalm 45 verse 9. They say the king's daughters were among thy honorable women. Upon thy right hand did stand the queen in gold of Ophir. So based on that, they make a philosophy and a doctrine. But remember I said to you, according to the Hebrew faith and the Hebrew way of life, there is never a female deity. Never a female deity or consort for a male. There was never. It was only in times of earthly kings that the chief woman, the chief wife, was now considered queen above all other wives or concubines. And by virtue of that, she was given the title of queen. But there is no queen in the Shamayam. Yahuwah does not have a wife. He does not have a wife. And he admonishes us that we must be very careful that we do not embrace the same philosophy. Because that same devil, that same mistake, that same error continue today. In ancient time in Israel, the men remained silent. The men hushed their mouth and they allowed the women to tell Jeremiah, we will not hearken unto you, for we have a vow that we will make cakes to the queen of the Shamayam, or the heavens. But do you know that your silence Silence is taken for consent. And here Yahuwah passed judgment upon all of them, the women, the men, everything. Because they had a right was to put their foot down and said, no, according to the scripture and according to the Most High, he said we must not hearken to worship the queen of the Shamayim. So how is the queen of the Shamayim worshipped today? How? Today they are worshipped, I said to you, by virtue of Mary. Mary has taken on a far superior place than even that of the Messiah. They say that Yahushua Mashiach, who they call J-U-S-U-S, they say he is king. And if he's king sitting on the right hand, how then can she now be sitting in an elevated place higher than him? In that you now they say to us that you cannot pray to JC, but you must pray to the mother because she is more compassionate. Life from the pit of hell. We understand the true essence of women in Hebron because we know that the word mother or mom comes from the Hebrew word am. Am in Hebrew means mother, and mother is the glue that holds the family together. So the mother plays a very important part in a relationship and in a family. While the father might be the breadwinner, the one who will discipline and all manner of things, the protector and everything in the home, the wife is the one, the mother is the one that keeps the family together. She knits the family. That's why in many cases from the time the mother died, family mash up. Everybody going helter-skelter. That's the power, because that's a bond in the gel of a woman. And based on that, we do not observe Mother's Day because it is in honor of who? We appreciate our women every single day, every day. But they also pray to their dead because many believe that their dead mother is in the Shamayim up there looking down at them and has the power to deliver them and to guide them and speak to them. And all of that is communicating with the dead, which the scripture forbids. It forbids. This same deity is also spoken of as the alma mater. The alma mater. The alma mater speaks about a school, an institution where people go by for learning. But when you look at the etymology of the word alma mater, it speaks about the nourishing mother. The nourishing mother. Why is this important? Because the nourishing mother is also spoken of as the goddess Diana, who we see that all the world worship in Ephesus with a multitude of breasts. Why is it a multitude of breasts or paps? Because she is the nourishing mother. And through her, she is also called the mother of wisdom. The mother of wisdom is whom all of these pagan religions, they worship in Athens on Mars Hills, where Shaul had us to upbraid them and tell them that they know not what they worship, but he will tell them who is the unknown God that they worship. Because they seek wisdom. So this goddess, or the mother of wisdom, was sought after by all the earth. By all the earth. All religions today continue to seek after her. This same mother, the Queen of Heaven, she is called the Mother, the Queen of Heaven, or the Heavenly Mother. And if we say Heavenly Mother, then we are saying that there is a mother in heaven. And if we talk about a mother in heaven, then we know that we're speaking about the mother of God, or the mother of Yah. Kirky, which is the daughter of Zeus, Kirke, she was referred to as the daughter of the sun. The daughter of the sun, which is the sun god, Ra, Zeus, Jupiter. You understand me? He goes by different names. So his daughter is Kirke, from where you get the word circle. And Kirke is also where you get the word church. So plenty of people don't understand that the very terminology they use are going to church. Church comes from the word Kirke, which is in honor of a pagan goddess. Let us look at Acts 24 verse 5. You will see the scripture speaks here. He said, "For we have found this man a pestilent fellow, a mover of sedition among all the Hebrews throughout the world, and a ringleader of the sect of the Nazarenes." This is talking about Shaul. Shaul, just like in the time of Jeremiah, he was from an Orthodox Hebrew way of life, but he was persecuting not the church, because there was no church then. There was no church in the wilderness. In the wilderness, you had an assembly, or the tent of Yasharal, of Judah and Yasharal, etc. And there was an assembly. This assembly consisted of both Jew or Hebrew and Gentile. And as it was in the beginning, so it shall be in the end. So there was never the word church. The word church came about in 4th century when Roman Catholicism decided to remove themselves away from their Hebrew roots. Because if you go back to Acts chapter 2, you will see that scripture says that people from Rome even received the outpouring of the Ruach HaKodesh. They all were gathered in Jerusalem. And the scripture says that in Jerusalem, the Basora, which is the good news or the tidings, must be preached in Jerusalem first, then to Samaria and to Judea and to the west, to the utmost part of the earth. So how come today we have a philosophy coming out from Rome, and they reject everything that Peter fought for and all the disciples of those in Jerusalem, Samaria, and Judea fought for? Yes, the Roman Catholic Church was part of this sect, called the sect of the Nazarene. And the sect of the Nazarene, this sect, let's see what they talk about. Greek 34:18. Sect of the Nazarene, the inhabitants of Nazareth. The inhabitants of Nazareth. Nazareth, you would know, common sense approach would tell you that there were not Christians living in Nazareth. Nazareth is the house of the Hebrews. It's a home of the Hebrews. And if they is the house of or the home of the Hebrews, by virtue of that, you will see that everything comes out of that is of Hebrew origin. Many would want to argue that Nazareth and the Sea of the Galilee talks about Gentiles. I tend to differ, because the Sea of the Galilee talks about the tent or the tribe of Naphtali. The tribe of Naphtali and all these other different tribes that were living in this geographical location. You do your research and see it yourself. And you would see that it was not speaking to Gentile people, but it was speaking to the lost tribe of Israel, Yasharal, that was scattered throughout the diaspora. So if we take the name that the inhabitants of Nazareth, they were following someone of Nazareth. Yahushua Mashiach, scripture says, he was born in Nazareth. And because he was born in Nazareth, Yahushua Mashiach he became the branch, because the true followers of Yahushua Mashiach, or Yahushua of Nazareth, right? So when they say Yahushua Mashiach of Nazareth, he is also called the branch. And if we say that, then the followers who are called the sect of the Nazarene, they also then are called followers after the one from Nazareth. They were simply following the one that came from Nazareth, the prophet that was born in Nazareth, that preached the word, everything from Nazareth. They were followers of him. This was also called as, referred to as the way. So Shaul, after he was struck down on the horse, from the horse, came now into an understanding that he was persecuting this sect all the time. And this sect were made up of Hebrews and Gentiles. The Gentiles were called proselytes because they joined themselves to the faith of the Hebrew people. Now, allow me to prove it more to you. In Acts 28:22, it says, "But we desire to hear of thee what thou thinkest. For as concerning this sect, we know that everywhere it is spoken against. As it was in the beginning, so it shall be in the end." There was a great apostasy that took place from the moment in the time that Yahushua Mashiach died. And Paul and Peter and these people were in the first century, in the time of first century. All that time there was a conspiracy afoot from the Roman Catholic Church to remove themselves from the Hebrew way of life and to have their own religion, establish their own religion, and have their own gods. So what did they do? They rejected the Hebrew names of the sovereign one. They rejected everything Hebrew, and they went about giving Greek names, Greek holidays, and everyone is pagan to the core, everyone. And they give you that and tell you that this is your religion. This is your religion. But Scripture tells us, as we continue to dig deeper, we will see in Jeremiah chapter 31 verse 6, that Scripture tells us that even the watchmen in Mount Ephraim, because Ephraim dwelleth in Samaria. But Ephraim speaks about 10 tribes. There are 12 tribes. 2, Benjamin and Judah. That is the southern kingdom. And then you have the northern kingdom, which answered to Ephraim. He said, "For there shall come a day that the watchmen upon the mount of Ephraim shall cry, and say, Arise and let us go up to Zion, out unto Yahuwah, our sovereign one, because out of Zion shall come forth the law." So they are saying that the watchmen, let us see the definition for the word watchman. The word watchman here, according to the Strong Concordance, it is 5341. You will see that the word here, it used Natsar. Natsar. Natsar is where you get the word Nazarene. Nazarene or Nazarim. Nazareth. A primitive root simply means to guard, to protect, to maintain, and to obey. So it says here that the watchmen in Ephraim, who call themselves Christians today, the time would come that their eyes of the understanding would be opened, and they would sound the alarm and say, "Let us return unto the Most High, to keep his commandments and his statutes as his ordinances, as he had told David to tell Solomon." keep Yahuwah's statutes, commandments, and ordinances, and ensure that the children do likewise. Instead, the children today worshiping all manner of pagan gods and not understanding. How did this deception come about? Simply because Yahuwah says that He is the branch. You would see that in Zechariah. You would see it in Isaiah 11 verse 1. He said, "There shall come forth a rod out of the stem of Jesse, and a branch shall grow out of his root." So the branch here speaks of Yahushua Mashiach, the Hebrew Messiah. And that's why they said that Yahushua Mashiach, He is the one that came out of Nazareth. So if He's the one that came out of Nazareth, and they said that there was a sect called the sect of the Nazarene, or the sect of the branch, or the sect of Nazareth. These were the followers, because they were following Yahushua HaMashiach. In Revelation 17 verse 5, Scripture tells us, "And upon her forehead was a name written, Mystery Babylon, the Great, the mother of harlots." The mother of harlots. Why is she called the mother of harlots, an abomination of the earth? Because this mother, which talks about the church that came out from Jerusalem, that came out from their Hebrew way of life. He said that this church, this religious organization that now embrace the teaching and the philosophy of the Queen of Heaven and worship of the Queen of Heaven, and also the worship of pagan gods and deities, she now came about with her own religion. And then the scripture says that there was a schism between them, and you had the east and the west. They went their separate paths, and the west was known as the Byzantine Empire. And then in 16th century, it was under Martin Luther. You had the Reformation era. The Reformation era, where Martin Luther, all he did is that he attempted to clean up Christianity. He attempted to clean up Roman Catholicism. And some of you may argue that Roman Catholicism is different from Christianity. I want to let you know today it is not. It is the same devil, because scripture says the word for Latin for denominations is domine. Domine means the name. You can investigate it. All these different denominations, all they did, they just named them different names. So there are different labels. So whether you are Anglican, Pentecostal, 7 days, whatever label they put on you, understand this, that you came out from the mother of harlots. You came out from the great hole. And that is why it is the same spirit of whoredom that rests upon them. And the scripture says we must come out from among them. Come out from the mystery Babylon religion. Come out. Have no fellowship with them. Have no fellowship. Mystery religion, the mother of harlots. Mother of harlots. And Jeremiah 7:18. Watch out something here. Let's read it in the context. From verse 16. Let's read it from 15. He said, "I will cast you out of my sight, as I have cast out all your brethren, even the whole seed of Ephraim." You see that? "Therefore, pray not thou for this people, neither lift up cry nor pray for them, neither make intercession to me, for I will not hear them. I will not hear them. Seest thou not what they do in the cities of Judah and in the streets of Jerusalem, that the children gather wood, and the fathers kindle the fire, and the women knead dough to make cakes to the queen of the Shamayam, and to pour out drink offering unto the gods, unto other gods, that they may provoke me to anger. And then you have a religion today telling you you must pray and intercede for everybody. Let me tell you something. The scripture speaks at length. All those that continue to worship the queen of the Shamayam, the Most High says, is either you're here and you turn from your wicked way, or leave them alone. He said, pray not for them. It is in that context. He said, pray not for them. Why? Because it was blatant disobedience. They made up their minds to go and worship the Queen of Heaven, because they said that if we stop, since we have stopped worshiping the Queen of the Heaven, we suffer lack. We suffer lack. Things was going bad. So they continued in ignorance and arrogance. So I close with this, my brothers and sisters. In 1 John 4:6 tells us this, that we must be able to discern. He said, for we are of Yahuwah, and we know that Yahuwah heareth us. He that is not of Yah heareth not us. Hereby know we the spirit of truth from the spirit of error. I shared with you the cry from the grave with the rich man and the poor man Lazarus. He says, send my brother back, send a member of my family, rise up someone from the dead and send them back. He said, even if I was to do that, he said, they will not hear. Let them hear Moses. Let them hear Moses. Because Moses is still speaking. He's still speaking today. But we have been taught to despise Moses. We have been taught that it is done away with. That is the doctrine and the spirit of whoredom, the spirit of apostasy that caused many to err and to fall into error. And we must know that the scripture says that when we return to the Most High, we must return to the Most High in loving obedience. We are not working our own salvation. No, we rejoice in the fact that He has saved us by favor, His loving kindness for the seed that walk righteous, the seed that keep the commandments of Yahuwah. Let me show you the spirit of truth. It is documented even in the book of Revelation, right? Revelation 14:12. Look at the characteristics. He said, and here is the patience of the believers. Here are they that keep the commandments of Yah and the faith of Yahushua Mashiach. Revelation 12:17. And the dragon was angry with the woman, the assembly, and went to make war with the remnant of her seed, the remnant of her seed, which keep the commandments of Yah and have the testimony of Yahushua Mashiach. For herein we know the spirit of truth from the spirit of error. 1 John 5:3. 1 John 5:3. For this is the love of Yah, that we keep His commandments, and His commandments are not grievous. 1 John 2:4. We're talking about spirit of truth from the spirit of error. Discern it yourself. And hereby do we know Him. Hereby do we know that we know Him, if we guard His commandments. And he that said, I know Him, and keepeth not His commandments, is a liar, and the truth is not in him. But whosoever keepeth His word, in him verily is the love of Yah perfected. And hereby know we that we are in Him. And if we are in Him, verse 6 says, and he that said that he abideth in Him, ought himself also to walk, even as Yahushua Mashiach walked. The one that walked from Nazareth, How did he walk? He kept the Father's commandment. He kept the statutes. He kept his ordinances. So how must you walk? Are you to walk after the Romans? Are you to walk as the Egyptians walk? How are you to walk? How are you to walk? I want to admonish you. Scripture admonishes us. Do not worship the host of the heavens. Don't do it. Don't do it. Right? Don't do it. Many will sell their soul for prosperity. They will sell their soul because they're comfortable with where they are. But at the end of the day, when this word has been preached, and you can verify the authenticity of the word and see the truth in the scripture, then you cannot turn your back on that. You cannot turn your back on it. Yet many would come, they would tune in to these services. They would hear the word being preached. But because of their love for their pagan gods, they refuse to hearken unto the word. They would tell you that the word commandment doesn't mean 10 commandments. But if it doesn't mean that, why did Jeremiah said that he would put his law in our hearts? Why did he put the law in our hearts? Why did he put his Torah in our heart? It is an innate quality that you are mandated to keep. That's why he said the wages of sin is death, and it is still death. You commit adultery, thou shalt not commit adultery. Thou shalt not kill. Thou shalt not steal. Thou shalt not covet. He said, thou shalt not take the name of Yahuwah in vain. Don't disrupt it. And that is what we do. We do. Churches today, people sleep with one another blatantly. Rampant sex in the church. Greed, hatred, and hypocrisy in the churches. Blatantly. But we're not talking about that. Don't rock the boat. But let me tell you this. This is one preacher will rock the boat morning, noon, and night, because I came to make many people unsettled. That when they go to sleep, you always have to be wondering, because this is salvation you're talking about. This is salvation. All right? So I thank each and every one of you. I ask you to continue to like, subscribe to the messages, and share.